So, as we know, adult learners often bring different experiences, responsibilities, learning preferences, and even technology comfort levels into the training environment and the learning environment as well. So, how can multimodal techniques help meet those varied needs that the learners have?
Yeah, so, I like to start with maybe this one and talk about like the universal design for learning, that talks about providing multiple means of representation, multiple means of assessment. So it gives some student agency or some learner agency into how they navigate to achieve a learning goal. Now, that doesn't mean that you're developing like a, five different pathways for five different learners within your cohort, but you're setting up things. An example, if we're providing a video, but we also provide the transcript. So someone that maybe can't watch the video, or the video's just, they have trouble with that, they can just download or look at and read through the transcript, right? It just gives them another means of getting that information. And on top of that, we talk about designing for accessibility. And if you design for accessibility, you're not just designing for the people that need it. You're designing for everyone. Give you an example with the video again. If you make sure your videos are all captioned and they're captioned well, you're actually helping everybody. There may be somebody that the only time they can do their content or look through their content, they're in a loud room or a busy room and they can't have the volume, or they don't have headphones. So now they can just use the captioning. You just help them. They don't necessarily need the captioning for an accessibility purpose, but having them help them get that content. And so again, I don't know if I can say it enough, but we design for accessibility for the people that need it, but when we do that, we design for everybody. Those things
Right.
help everyone. I like to use the example too of the magnifier, right? You know, can you, if you magnify the course you're on and you zoom in on it, will a learner know where they're at? Is there enough cues or clues so they know exactly where they are in the content, so they know how to navigate through it, right? That's for everyone. I know for me, because I make everything big now because I'm getting older, and trying to see small font is little, so I zoom in. So again, those type of things. We could talk about, again, in the previous question, we kind of talked about cognitive load, right? Trying to reduce that intrinsic cognitive load. Think about where maybe you got a fairly complex or dense text. Well, what if you paired that with maybe a concept map, image, or infographic? Right now, you're helping the student navigate that content. So another great way in the adult space is to make the connections directly to a real world event or activity. And if you're in a workspace, you can actually tie that directly to maybe a work task, and that'll help them navigate that content. And if you put it into a scenario, it puts it in kind of like a real world context, and you'll kind of activate that intrinsic motivation to navigate through those. Um, I like to say, give learners some choice on those tools, but you can't give them a whole bunch, right? Because then you're just going to spend a lot of time just developing all kinds of content. But if you can give some limited choice and really think about, when we talk about assessments or how they demonstrate that knowledge, that you're putting it some options there where they're demonstrating that knowledge that's aligned with the objective, and not just how to use the technology. We could talk about one of the popular ones I see all the time is, especially in the asynchronous environment, they want the student to do like a briefing or a presentation. So they ask the student to record themselves or create a video and then upload that as their proof of product. Well, is creating the video a learning objective? Because that may be creating a barrier for that student. So if you can offer multiple means of achieving that objective for that student. Now, again, we could caveat with, having somebody present is a way to do some AI mitigation, right? In that, they can't have AI just do it for them completely, right? But
Right.
they can still have help. So you wouldn't want to maybe substitute that with a written paper, but maybe it's a live session, right, where they present. So, I mean, there's some things I think you need to think about, that we're not setting up a barrier to a student to accomplishing that, or demonstrating that they understand the content or meeting that objective. So we just need to offer those different options for a student to achieve.